person sign up? Do you want to have an answer?
Wait, yeah, before I open the public hearing, I just want to explain this public hearing deals only with the change from Chapter 43 from the zoning ordinance to Chapter 33A of the rental housing code. We're not talking about eliminating the 30% or anything like that. All we're addressing is changing it from the zoning ordinance to the housing code ordinance. Right now, the 30% issue is tied up in litigation, right, Chris?
That's correct.
And there will be no decisions made on the 30% rule until that litigation comes to an end. So like I said, we're just here. The public hearing deals only with changing the rule from the zoning ordinance to the housing code. And that's all we're here to actually discuss. And depending on how the court case comes out, then we can have another discussion on the 30% when that all comes to an end. So with that, I'll open the public hearing on the 30% rule amendment, changing it from Chapter 43, which is the zoning ordinance, to Chapter 33A, which is the rental housing code. So anyone wishing to speak to that, please come on up. Or we do have one already.
Lynette Power.
Okay.
Lynette Power, 252 East 8th Street. In light of what you just said, Mr. Mayor, I've got a statement prepared, but I do not believe that changing a bad law from one part of the city's rules to the charter is going to make it any better. I own a home with 3,268 square feet of heated space. That's not my basement or my attic or my garage or anything. There's 12 rooms in my house. 5 of them are bedrooms, 2 full baths. And the city is telling me that I can only have 2 additional people living in my home. At a time when conservation and sustainable living is paramount, I feel it is unethical to limit a space like the home that I own to only having 3 people live in it. Back when the rule went into effect, I had a friend who had a very small 2-bedroom home that she was just buying, and she, for her size house, maybe 3 would have been appropriate, but I feel for my large Victorian home, it is totally inappropriate. I've lived in the home for 30 years. I raised 3 children in there, as well as rented out a room. 6 of us lived there comfortably. I feel that now that my children are raised and I'm single, I believe it's discriminatory to limit the way that my house is used to only 2 other unrelated people. If I had relatives, I could have 20 people living in my home, but simply because all of my bloodline has moved away from Winona, I'm limited to having 2 additional people. I actually believe that all humankind are my brothers and sisters. So these rules were made with little consideration for the vast majority of property owners in Winona, and the main thrust was for controlling college student housing. With many foreclosures due to economic pressures on homeowners, renting out part of homes makes it possible for many of us to stay in our homes. These rules have placed a hardship on a large number of folks here in Winona and who need the extra income for maintaining our homes. Please throw it out. Don't just put it in another part of your code or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak to the change of the 30% rule from Chapter 43 to the zoning ordinance to Chapter 33A, the rental housing code? I'd like to remind you that's what we're addressing tonight. So anyone else wishing to speak to that? Yes, ma'am. Give us your name and address.
Mariana Byman at 327 West Wabasha. I have a question. I don't really understand all the implications of the change, but with the change, do homeowners in the university neighborhood still have protections?
Mr. City Attorney, can you address that? I believe everybody has the same protections.
So we're not just like we were 7 or 8 years ago without any
No,
protection?
that's not correct. Yeah. Yes, you're right, but
Okay.
the change is to simply move the current regulation from the zoning ordinance to Chapter 33A, which is the code that contains all of the city's rental housing regulations. It probably should have been in this chapter of code originally, but it wasn't for whatever reason, and the intent is to now move it to that location and simply reenact it.
Thank you very much. And because I did work on the committee, for the 30% rule for quite a while, and my contention has always been the original problem was that the residential areas weren't R1 to start with. They were R2, but that was done many, many years ago, so we've had to live with the consequences of it. So I do think it's a zoning issue, and I think if it still provides some measure of predictability and for the neighborhoods and some protection for the neighborhoods, then I think that's a good thing. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak to the public hearing regarding the 30% rule amendment, changing it from Chapter 43, the zoning ordinance, to Chapter 33A, the rental housing code?
Hi, my name is Kevin Kapusman, 1397 Conrad Drive. I'd just like to say I lived in a house for 7 years raising kids, kind of in a bad neighborhood, and we had it on the market for over 2 years with the economy being so bad. We wanted to get our kids in a better neighborhood. We ended up having to rent it out. It's somewhat of a large home, and it's very difficult to find only 3 people that can afford to pay my mortgage on it. Just like you guys to override the 3-person rule and maybe do 1 person per bedroom or something of a better idea of how it should go than what it is now.
Okay, but we're not addressing that tonight. What we're addressing tonight is just changing from one to the other. Okay? All right, anyone else wishing to speak to the public hearing on the 30% rule, changing the rule from the zoning ordinance to the rental housing code? Anyone wishing to speak to that? Anyone else wishing to speak to the rule amendment, 30% rule amendment, changing it from the zoning ordinance to the housing code? Anyone else wishing to speak to that? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
I'll move to approve the 30% rule amendment as before us, and I guess I want direction, though, on the addition for the temporary rental license that you're asking for some changes to be included in that?
That's right. There is a policy issue for you tonight to consider, which is, as you'll recall, over the last couple of years, there's been a temporary exemption to allow people that have had trouble selling their homes to get a temporary rental license, even in blocks that are saturated beyond the 30% requirement. It would be staff's recommendation that you put that into the ordinance permanently. Currently, it is supposed to expire on April 20th, 2012. The current draft of the ordinance is presented that way for it to expire April 20th, 2012. So it will expire April 20th, 2012, assuming you move forward with this and don't make a change. Staff's recommendation would be that instead we do make that change to this.
Do you require a separate motion, or can I just include that in the motion to accept the amendment?
You could do it all as one motion. You might want a little
I
assistance
think
from
I would like one. I would like to have the 30% amendment change without that, and then we can discuss that separately. Okay?
That's why I wanted clarification on that.
Just to keep it clean, all right?
How many are in there?
We'll keep it clean.
How many are bundled into that?
Currently, how many have temporary licenses? 2 or 3.
Like that soldier and, I can think of a couple of them.
It's not a soldier,
He wasn't a soldier.
independent contractor.
Could I just ask
We need a
that
second.
we
We need a
just
second.
have the motion on the rule amendment, and then if somebody wants to make a motion to amend it, they
Right.
can do that.
I made the motion then for the rule amendment because I needed first clarification on how
Okay.
to go to pursue that, so.
Is there a second on that?
Mayor, can I have just one clarification?
Okay.
The amendment before you really is to adopt the resolution with findings with the ordinance attached, just so everybody's clear on that.
All right, well, I'll leave it up to council. What do you desire? I would, to me, it would be cleaner if we just do the one and then the other, but that's just my.
That's what he said.
This
would be the way you
want it, Mayor.
Okay.
That's what he said.
All right, so your motion is to approve the,
Moving from chapter 43.
moving it from chapter 43, the zoning to 33, and has nothing to do with the other, the
The temporary license.
in other words, the temporary license is out, we're just voting on the movement. Is there a second to
Does
that?
that include the resolution and the findings and conclusions?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second to that? Okay, second. Now discussion on the 30%, moving the 30% rule from chapter 43 of the zoning ordinance to chapter 33A of the rental housing code. Any questions on that? Okay, all in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Okay, now if someone wants to bring up the amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we keep the temporary rental license provision temporary.
Okay, there's a motion to keep the temporary license amendment temporary. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by George.
The clarification is that
Clarification.
yeah, it will terminate on April 20th, 2012. Do you still want it to terminate on April 20th, 2012, or are you looking to set a new term?
We can discuss that at a later time.
Yeah, I'd say I prefer to keep it so we, revisit it when it comes up each time, so let's just let it run its course and we'll discuss it when it comes up in a month
But it'll
or two.
expire 2012.
And then we can talk about it then, just so we can still have eyes on it every time that it.
Keep it clean, all right? So the motion is to not do
As is.
the extension of the temporary thing, and it was seconded by George. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of that motion, which is to not do the temporary,
Not make it permanent.
not make it permanent. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, all right.
Under section petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1, reappointments to the Board of Adjustment of Mario Einsman and David Kuba.
Move to approve these appointments?
Moved by Jerry, second by George. Questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, which is to approve the reappointments to the Board of Adjustment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
Item 3.2, Winona Area Chamber of Commerce sign request.
Move approval?
Moved by Debbie, second by Michelle. Questions? All in favor of the motion, which is to approve the Winona Area Chamber request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Item 3.3 is the Relay for Life sign request.
Move to approve the request.
moved by George, second by Michelle. Questions?
Yes.
Question.
Individually, all these signs are a great idea, but do we have any plan on what's the max number of signs? You know what I'm getting at? I mean, sooner or later, we're gonna get a saturation point, so not speaking against this one, this is fantastic, so was the previous one, but I'll go along and vote for this, but as long as we know that eventually we're gonna get complaints that we're gonna have too many signs.
Okay, clarify.
Get one of those really big lit ones and just.
We have
light
a
that
sign
baby up.
policy, don't
Jerry,
we?
Jerry, there's only locations for 2 signs there.
That's
Wyndham
it.
Park
Wyndham
and
Park.
So it's on that regular post that's there, they'll
Yes.
just
Right,
rotate
we don't
that.
put up extra.
Good, so we're not looking at
No.
new,
So if somebody else came in for this time period, they would not be able
all
to
right,
put a sign
perfect,
up.
thank you, you answered my question.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of the motion, which is to approve the Relay for Life sign? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, carried.
Item 3.4 is the Winona National Bank Central Park concert request for July 20th.
Move to approve that request.
Second.
Moved by Al, second by Jerry. Questions? All in favor of the motion, which is to approve the Winona National request? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried.
Item 3.5 is the Ridgeway Community School Run Walk request for June 2nd.
Move to approve the request.
Second?
Moved by Jerry, second by Debbie. Debbie, okay. Any questions or comments?
Yes.
It gets complicated sometimes. Okay, all in favor of that motion to approve the Ridgeway Community Schools, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, carried.
Item 3.6 is the Minnesota Beethoven Festival free concert street closure request for July 5th.
Move to approve that request?
Moved by Debbie, second by Michelle. Questions? All in favor of the Beethoven request, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried.
Item 3.7 is the expansion of licensed premises for Chula Vista for an outdoor patio.
Move to approve that request.
Moved by Al.
Second.
Second by Michelle. Questions? All in favor of the motion to expand Chula Vista? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried.
Item 3.8 is a request by Westgate Bowl to hold the Cotter High School after prom party at Westgate on May 5th.
Move to approve that request.
Moved by George, second by Jerry. All right, questions?
2 Cotter graduates.
All right.
I thought it was interesting, they said there'll be an abundance of teachers and chaperones.
Yeah, no fun zone.
Okay, any
Sounds
other
like a good time,
questions?
a good time.
Like your dream come true.
Yeah, all in favor of the motion, which is to approve the request for a Westgate Bowl? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried.
Under new business, item 5.1 is the fire department promotions.
Move to approve.
Moved by Jerry, is there a second? Second by Michelle. Questions? The chief is here if there's any questions. No questions. All in favor of the motion, which is to approve the fire department promotions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried.
Item 5.2 is the environmental review requirements for the Winona HRA, and Linda is here. As is Lucy.
Linda's here and George is here. We got,
Gonna have to board
is there
here.
a motion?
I would so move to make a motion to approve that.
Second?
Moved by George, second by Michelle. Questions? Linda's here to answer any questions? Question?
Second.
Second by Debbie. Debbie, okay. Question? Any questions?
Maybe she can tell us what's going on
Linda,
out
tell
there.
us what's going
That's
on.
what she said.
Come on up to the mic so we can hear you.
We're looking for approval for our 2012 funding, and because of the cuts in the federal funding this year, we're limited to one project, so we're proposing to replace our boilers at Valley View and our domestic water. So it's really the only project we have. Been on our 5-year plan, no change at all from last year's 5-year.
Good, and how much is that? What's the price? George should have that right on
We
top.
should have that right there. We have a total of about $270,000 going in there, not counting architects and engineers.
All right, questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion, which is to improve the environmental review requirements for the Winona HRA? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried.
Item 5.3 is the fine arts recommendation for Blue Heron funds.
Move to approve?
Moved by Debbie, is there a second? Second by Michelle. Questions or comments? Debbie?
Just a question, Chad, has there been discussions, or I'm assuming there probably has, to replenish this fund at all, or any future ideas?
Mayor and Council, the Fine Arts Commission continues to talk about how to replenish this fund. Obviously, as you can see, it's gone from $45,000 down to the $16,725, not including the amounts you're about to approve tonight. They've had discussions about another public art project. Each of the grant requests, or each time that a grant request comes in, the Fine Arts Commission does ask to generate some revenue from that project to go back to the Fine Arts Commission. to help replenish the fund, but nothing formally has been discussed, no.
I believe too, they've now, didn't they, they take grants now, what, twice a year compared to four times a year?
We used to take grants 4 times a year. We just do it now one time.
One time now.
Each year, yep. March 1st is the deadline each year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Just a comment, Mayor. I appreciate reading the applications for the requests. And I learned something when I read it. I wasn't aware of the activity. Well, now I'm aware of the activities that the Theater of Mississippi and the festival are involved with on someone who lived in Winona called Rockwell Kent. I wasn't familiar with him and learned a little bit. I'm going to look up a little more about him because it kind of intrigued me. So appreciate that, and I'm supporting the request.
Okay. Sounds good. Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, which is to approve the fine arts recommendation for the Blue Heron funds? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Under item 7.1, council concerns.
We'll go with Al first tonight.
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay, Jerry?
Nothing.
Michelle?
I have something. Just a couple quick things.
We wouldn't expect anything different.
Oh, no, that's not true. Just quick. I had sent this, I think, to Judy and I think Mark, when Mark was here, but it's just, I came across a program that Northfield, Minnesota is looking at. I don't remember all the specifics, but it's called, the acronym is PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy. The program would aid financing for energy efficient projects, so I just want to bring that to your attention. That's something to look into. I don't know if it's a fit or not, but Northfield recently is looking into that for projects, or Lucy. And I do want to thank Carlos, he's not here, but his intern. I had spontaneously seen somebody riding their bike and then putting their arm up, putting their arm up, and I'm going, okay, what does that mean again? I couldn't remember. So I was in City Hall and I said, Carlos, just an idea, you're doing this great stuff for all the biking, and paths and stuff we're doing. I said, I don't remember, maybe we should put something like that on the website. He said, I'll think about it. Well, later that afternoon, the intern did. So they got great graphics on there, among other things. You go through city services, community development, planning and zoning, and then there's a link for bicycling, so they put that up there. And lastly, I do want to mention, and I don't know if Chad wants to say anything, we did last year, I brought this to the attention of staff, and they followed through on it. We did get the award for Playful City USA, but now the signs are up, right? I believe at the band shell, and they said at the pool. And it means that it's a national program honoring cities and towns that make play a priority and use innovative programs to get children active, playing, and healthy. That also now gets us in the pool for a lot of potential grant monies that could also go to playground equipment. So that was all of that great process. Thank you for staff and others again who did pursue that. I know it was time intensive at the beginning, so appreciate that.
How many signs do we have?
We've got 2, right?
Where'd you put them?
Band shell and the pool right now, right? And I think you said later one might move to Lake Lodge. Yeah.
Got to get something down in the East End. There's a lot of playing that goes on.
So spread the word. It's a great designation around the whole United States, and I think Michelle Obama also had some things to do with Kaboom and everything. So it's a huge initiative.
Good. Deb? George?
Now we get one behind Mulligan's.
You just need a sign that says "Watch out for George" on
That kind of playground,
days.
George.
It would be noticed. Something new. The railroad traffic on Mankato Avenue is still backed up. So,
We're surprised.
well, no, but anyway, just thought to get a little excitement here. So, the crossings are still being blocked again by 35, 40 minutes once a day, sometimes twice a day, 3 times. So I know we still need to continue to look at that. So, and as trucks are going to begin working down that way in order to get traffic moving, so.
We need to put a circle in there so when you forget and you get stuck there in those first 2 blocks, you need to have an easy way to get out of there.
Good idea.
Serious.
Good
You need some
idea.
other, so you're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're the 3rd block back, you can
Right.
move. If you're stuck in those first 2 blocks,
Yeah.
you're going to be there for as long as it takes.
So, and also, since Linda's here, I'd just like to say that, to her and her staff out at the Winona HRA, the maintenance staff, you look at the buildings that they supervise, they're in very, very good shape. Thurley Homes, Bellevue East, Valley View Towers, Schaffner Homes, you drive by them, very clean. I mean, they're really, really well kept up, and the grounds are kept neat. So, a good thank you to everyone working out there. So. And also just a couple of things, and one sad thing. First of all, happy 80th birthday to Polish Joe Walensky. If you would just say Joe Valinsky, you probably wouldn't know who we're talking about, but Polish Joe, I know Jerry, you know him. He is celebrating 80 years, so congratulations to him. And also, when he, of course, is an East End resident, and also to another longtime East End resident, to Leona Stoltman. She turns a very young 91. I think we all remember Jimmy, her husband, served on the council here for many years, and she's, so birthday greetings out to her, 91 years young. And also, on a sad note, I'd like to just offer condolences to the Marie Koba family, Dave, who served on the city council for a couple of years, and to the rest of his family, his sisters, and she was a very, very good lady. I had a chance to speak with her a couple of times, so condolences to Dave and all of his family on her passing. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Under the consent agenda, there are 7 items. Approval of the minutes from the March 5th and March 13th meetings. The final adoption of an ordinance to repeal no parking on a portion of Gilmore Avenue. The final adoption of an ordinance to redistrict the city precincts. An ordinance to amend the park rec fee schedule. An ordinance to approve the shade tree pest control. And 2 claims, one against the city by Nicholas Nook and one by the city against American Family Insurance.
Move to approve the consent item.
Moved by Al, is there a second?
Second?
Second? Who's second?
Is that me?
Debbie, questions or all in favor of the consent, which is approval of minutes, 1, 2, 3, 4 ordinances and 2 claims. All in favor of that, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, carried.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Jerry, is there a second? Deb seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,